All right. Well, Larry, I wanted to have you get a chance to share where you were, where you are now, and where you're going based on what you've been exposed to with our programs. And in your case, we've been together for many years, so there's a lot of history.
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, when I first met you, where would you say you were? A 10 is you were doing great, a 1 is you weren't doing so well. Where would
So
you
you
put it?
mean when we first met?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say that I was probably a
Start
3.
with this.
Oh,
When we first met, I
okay.
would put myself as,
When we first met, I would put myself as a 3.
and how come you'd say that?
Well, because it was all about me. Everything revolved around what I wanted. And I wasn't really willing to be open to listen to others, even though I falsely believed that I was listening to others. There's a way that you think that you're really listening to people. And if your mind gets in the way of that and you want to finish the sentence before someone finishes their sentence, you know you're not there.
So then you attended and you've been through many experiences with us over the years.
Yes.
What's it done for you?
It's been amazing, Bill. When I first came to the program, as I said before, I was so focused on me, and it was all about my ego, what was best for me, not really what was best for my wife, actually. I was very much a selfish person in a lot of ways. I think I did wear my heart on a sleeve, and I was definitely heartfelt. However, at the same time, I didn't understand how to use the tools and the giftings of what I had, what I possess inside, but also the teachings that you and Linda taught during that time. And so as I've evolved, I've seen changes in myself in regards to how I apply those teachings to my own life.
Now, you came to a major insight recently that you just shared with me. In fact, you also just mentioned that it's been your birthday just last week and how things are different. Talk about that for a minute.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share that. My birthday last week was the most enjoyable birthday I've ever had in my life. And
Wow.
the reason it was the most enjoyable was because I'm living with my flappers open, meaning that I'm open to so many things and I'm not afraid to take chances. And also, I'm learning to live on the self-esteem side of the tree, where I can be encouraging, supportive, loving toward others and myself. And the other thing was, because I've stepped out of my comfort zone and my box, and I've learned to be more others centered versus being self-centered, I'm receiving so many more things. I'm receiving more income. I'm receiving more connection. And for me, sitting at the table at Sperry's, having a wonderful lunch with my wife on my birthday, I just looked back and I said, you know what? I'm experiencing the greatest birthday I've ever had in my lifetime. And the reason I'm experiencing that is because of all the tools and the teachings that I've been exposed to through McGrain Global Centers.
Wow, that's powerful, Larry.
It
And I'm
is.
so happy for you because really that's what happens when you take the principles and you apply them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you shared something very powerful, an insight, a discovery that you had recently. You want to share about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I basically I started to understand what changes can take place in myself and others by focusing on the idea of living on that self-esteem side of the tree and living in support and encouragement and love of others and yourself. And I realized that it's not just about that one thing. Like, in other words, it's not just about the tree. It's about applying all the concepts, like getting out of your box, the tree. Uh, I've also experienced a new modality or a new teaching called belief mapping. And I was putting all my onus on belief mapping, saying that's what was changing me and that's what made all the differences. And I realized it's not that. It's the combination of all those things. And it's applying them to your life in the most appropriate way you can, and also taking 100% responsibility for everything you think, feel, say, and do.
And you also shared that you had a issue that's been with you your whole life. Talk about that.
Yeah, I had an issue with sexual addiction and pornography. And it started when I was 10 years old. I was going to middle school one day and I was out in the woods and I found this fort that these kids had made, I assume, and I found some pornography and I found some naked pictures of women and so forth. And one thing that led to another, and I just became addicted to pornography, addicted to sexual addiction. And it's interesting because when you're living in that place of sexual addiction and trying to overcome it, the one thing that I would help anyone out there who's struggling is that stay away from that place of shame and guilt, because shame and guilt just push you further into that lifestyle. And it is a lifestyle. And I realized this morning when I was thinking about this, I thought, it didn't take me a few days to get addicted to pornography. It took me a lifetime to get addicted to pornography. And I found that I was constantly asking the Lord to take it away and help me to be free of it. And I didn't take responsibility myself. I would go there and do things I shouldn't do. And then I would say, oh, the Lord's going to forgive me. Well, that's true. Yes, the Lord's always going to forgive you. He loves you. At the same time, we as people, myself specifically, had to take 100% responsibility for everything I think, feel, say, and do.
And feel.
Yeah, exactly. And when you feel that emotion, and I know what people are going through, I just want you to know, I know what you're going through. I really do. I understand the concept of feeling like you just can't get rid of this addiction, no matter what you do, that it hangs on, that you're living in the darkness. And the biggest key is to bring it to the light. You got to bring it to the light, because if you don't bring it to the light, it stays in the darkness. And then I believe the enemy can manipulate it and work with it in such a way that you continue to stay there. And it's not easy. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not easy. I don't want to say I woke up one day and it was gone. It wasn't. I had moved away from it for a period of time, and I've moved away from it for years. I mean, I've not looked at anything for 3 years, and then all of a sudden something comes back to my mind or my heart, and I'm back in it again. And I've just recently gotten loosed of it. And when I say loosed of it, I don't mean like last year I was into pornography. I'm saying I was struggling to fight it. And when I say fight it, I was fighting it with my willpower. You can't fight this with your willpower, no matter what you do. You can think, I can get Covenant Eyes, which is a program that you can buy that will allow you, the computer will basically filter out the explicit results of your search engines and so forth. You can participate in programs that are given by churches or other organizations. However, until you really make that decision, until you say, you know what, I'm done. I don't ever want this in my life again. And you start to expose it to the light, then it stays in the darkness. And when it stays in the darkness, it's like walking around in a tunnel, and you go to the left, you go to the right, and you're still in that same tunnel and you can't get out. And I just want people to understand, I really do understand what you're going through, and I feel your pain. I mean, it's the worst feeling in the world to be addicted to something, because you feel like your whole life is out of control all the time.
So Larry, what were the things that you've been doing that it's allowed you to get free of this?
Well, that's a great question. And I think it's a lot of different things. One of the things I've done more than anything is to take responsibility, 100% responsibility for everything I think, say, feel, and do. And also to understand that it's a process. See, I thought it could just be eliminated in one fell swoop, and I wanted it to be that way. And the Lord was saying, no, you have to go through the work. You have to go do the work. And there's work involved. There's work involved in helping your self-esteem, getting it to be more grounded and more centered, and to stay away from that side of the tree where you have the self-image side of the tree, where you have hatred and crime and jealousy and all the other things that lead you to be self-centered and not others-centered. When I made a decision to be others centered, I started realizing that there were times when I was being self-centered, and I would catch myself and I would say, wait a minute, that's not who I want to be. Who do you want to be? Ask yourself that question. Who do you want to be? And then answer that question honestly. And sometimes I'll be totally frank with you. I didn't want to give it up for a lot of years. I did not want to give it up. I did not want to, because it was self-fulfilling. It was gratifying to my flesh. It fed my insecurities. One of the things I found that I struggled with more than anything is when I became stressed. That's when I found myself to go to that addiction specifically. And I had been stressed for, well, close to 10 years in some ways, just because of money and lack of this and lack of that. And it was difficult on me. And I felt like someone was choking my neck and I couldn't get away from it. And what I was able to discover was that when I gave that to the Lord and said, okay, Lord, you love me more than anyone, and you can help me through this, whatever it is I'm dealing with, whether I'm dealing with pornography or a sexual addiction, or whether I'm dealing with not handling money properly, or whether I'm dealing with emotional misunderstandings or emotional abuse, whether that's emotional abuse on my side of my family or it's emotional abuse on in my relationships. And so the more that
Larry, one of the things that you decided, you said something to me, then I followed up with that. Had you ever shared that with anybody else up to that point?
Let's see. No, not really. No.
And you also shared it with your wife. Is that correct?
I did.
How did she respond to telling you what's going on?
She was very understanding. We're still working through some layers of that. This over a year ago since I've looked at anything that's, pornography or addiction to sexual addiction. And she was really struggling with that on one level. She accepted it, and she accepted me as a person and the love that we have between each other. But I think her question was, why did you go towards something that would feed you in a false manner instead of coming to me and telling me what you're really going through? And I lived in that place of shame for so many years, and I wasn't willing to share the truth. And when I had shared it with you in passing, that I had been delivered from something that I'd been struggling with for over 30 years, and you let it go, which is beautiful. I loved it. You didn't say a word to me. And I thought to myself after we had the conversation, I thought, geez, he didn't say anything to me. I wonder what does he care? And I knew better than that, because Bill McGrain cares. But what I realized more than anything was you kind of gave me a chance to process it on my own too. If you'd asked me right then, I don't think I'd have been as open with you. It's not because I don't trust you. I trust you implicitly, Bill, 100%. And I'm open 100% to share anything with you and with anyone else, be honest with you, if you're open to being transparent with me and me being transparent with you. The thing that you struggle with when you deal with this is you struggle with your self-esteem, and you become a person of inferiority. You think you're inferior, and that because you have this problem that you're damaged goods. And that's what I felt like. I felt like damaged goods. I felt like no one's going to really understand. No one's going to love me because but because I was dealing with that for 10 years or more. Well, in this case, I'll totally frank with you, since I was 10 years old. And I had a lot of different situations happen to me with other people that kind of promoted that idea of keeping it secret. And I don't need to get into that with you right now. However, what I will say is when you go through things, you put them all together in a tapestry of life, and then you say, okay, here's what happened to me. And that's why a personal inventory, personal history is a great idea. That's what we're doing through your program. We're putting down our personal history. We're intensifying that, whether it was a positive experience or a negative experience or a affirming and non-affirming experience. And what I realized through that process was that I used those things as crutches to stay where I was. I said, okay, poor Larry's been through sexual abuse, and therefore it's okay for him to look at pornography. It's okay for him to have a sexual addiction. It's okay for him to hide it from his wife because nobody's going to understand poor Larry. And it's just not true.
So Larry, what if somebody's listening to this and they're asking, is there help? What would you tell people about what the benefits are of working with us? Because people are, they're skeptical. They're wondering, could it work for me? Could it make any difference? What would you want them to know?
That's a great question, Bill. Thank you for asking it. I think the thing that I'd want them to know without a shadow of a doubt is that with you and Linda, there is total unconditional love. And the opportunity to share your life and your heart with someone who's not going to judge you, who's going to openly accept you, but they're also going to challenge you to live deeper and to face your challenges and face your fears and face the things that are keeping you from living your best self. And one of the things that your program does more than anything for me personally, as I talk about what I've been through, is it helps me to get out of my own way so that I could have the breakthroughs and I could have the life that I want to have, the wow experiences, the elegant, irresistible, and
Exquisite.
exquisite. Thank you. The EEI experiences that in my life that make my life richer. And I wake up every day, I'll be honest with you, and I'm so excited about life. I'm excited about, I love to write. So I'm excited about writing in my journal. I'm excited about sharing my life with others. I'm excited about what life has to offer. It's so amazing. If you think about it, you open yourself up to life and all of a sudden new experiences and new things come into your life. Like we've been in your program since March of last year. And it's been an amazing adventure. Being able to discover who I am as a person, to go deeper into the teachings and the tools that you provide for transformation. And honestly, if you're willing to do the work, I'm going to tell you flat out, it's not easy. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for me when I first started. I had to do the work. I had to be willing to do the work. And if I'm willing to do the work, everything else falls in line. I think
the tools are there. They just have to apply them.
They have to apply the tools to their life. Yep.
Once they apply them, it makes a difference.
Yep.
So Larry, what was your number at the beginning when we first met each other?
About a 3.
And where would you say you are now?
I don't think anybody's at 10, but I'd say I live most of my life at 9 to 9.5.
Wow. Any final comments you want to share with people?
Well, I'd love to, if it's okay, I'd love to read a prayer that I wrote for this occasion. If
Sure.
that's okay with you. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a prayer to help people to overcome sexual addiction and overcome pornography and overcome the demons that attach themselves to you in this process. So what I'll do is I'll take my glasses off and bring my paper closer to my face so I can read it.
Okay.
So that's what I'll do. So, dear Heavenly Father, I come before you today with a heavy heart, praying for all those who are struggling with sexual addiction and pornography. I know the journey towards recovery can be long and a difficult one, filled with many challenges and obstacles. That's why I ask that you provide them with strength and resilience to overcome any difficulties that they may face along the way. Please help them to find courage to acknowledge their struggles and to seek the help that they need to heal. I pray that you would surround them with positive and supportive people who can uplift and encourage them on their journey. May you also protect them from any negative influences or temptations that they may threaten to derail their progress. Please guide them towards making healthy choices and help them to cultivate positive habits that will promote their overall well-being. Most of all, I ask that you fill their hearts with your love and compassion and help them to find inner peace and serenity. May they feel your presence and know that they are not alone on this journey. May your grace and blessings be upon them always. In Jesus' mighty precious name, I pray. Amen.
Wow, that's so powerful, Larry. So powerful.
Thank you.